South Florida tonight, baseball tonight, Sun Life Stadium. The Marlins and the Phillies finish off a 3-game series. A blowout in Game 1 for the Phillies, a tight win last night for the Phillies. They keep rolling right now. First place, Philadelphia Phillies. Their lead is extended now to 2.5 games. The Marlins will try to put a dent in that tonight. The Fish facing an uphill battle. They do not have a starting pitcher. They got to go to their bullpen. Jorge Sosa gets the ball. And the doctor is in tonight for Philadelphia. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hunt. Regardless of the pitching spot tonight for the Marlins or for the Phillies, Tommy, the Phillies are playing like a team that knows how to play late in the season, a team that knows how to play into October. They're 11-3 this month, and they are rolling.
The Phillies are winning games that they have to win, and I'll tell you what, they have a little incentive going into this one tonight, knowing that Atlanta lost this afternoon to the Nationals.
And it always helps when you've got a great rotation, and the Phillies certainly do. And it's their ace who's pitching, and of course on this mound, earlier this season, in late May, he set a little bit of history.
May 29th, Roy Halladay threw the 20th perfect game in Major League history. Interesting in that lineup for the Marlins. Cody Ross was there. Jorge Cantu was there. Brent Hayes was the catcher in that lineup. Chris Coghlan played in that game. So a little different look tonight that Roy Halladay will see. But I'll tell you what, this guy has been valuable to the Phillies within the National League East. He is 11-1 against the National League East with an ERA of 1.41. He's one of the toughest pitchers in the game. He usually goes 7 or 8 innings.
Marlins have defeated him once this year. Dan Ugglas hit a couple of homers against him. And Halliday has not been perfect his last 3 starts. He's actually given up 3 runs or more in those 3 starts. Now for the Fish, Jorge Sosa gets the start, and how this game goes, I think, depends an awful lot on how the first 2 innings goes for Sosa. If he can set the tone, Tommy, and get through the first 2 okay, then the Marlins may have a shot.
A little good news, he's 34, he's a veteran, he has started games at the Major League level, but his last start was back in July of 2007 when he was pitching for the Mets.
Now the Marlins sending Jorge Sosa and the rest of the staff out there against Roy Halladay, who might just be the Cy Young Award winner in the National League. That's certainly a topic that we will talk about tonight. We'll have more on the doctor. Roy Halladay against the Fish tonight in South Florida.
Marlins will face Roy Halladay here. We were talking a little bit earlier about facing Roy Halladay. What do you do? Well, the Marlins have beaten him this year. He does have 10 losses, but you have to play a crisp game. When you look at Halliday, the pitcher, and you look at his record and the innings, what are some of the things jump out? And what do the Marlins have to do? More importantly, what's their game plan against him?
Well, if he makes a mistake, you got to hit it. You can't miss the mistakes, because this guy knows if something's not working, he's going to work the corners. He's going to find a way to get you out. So it's very important that if there is a mistake thrown, they've got to hit it.
He has 2-1 lifetime, of course, here with that perfect game, and 1-1 over at Citizens Bank Park tonight, getting his first start ever in the major leagues. Oh, thank you, Skip. Scott Cousins gets the call to go against Roy Halladay. He'll be in right field, and there he is. He'll make his major league debut as a starter. He's done a great job off the bench for the Marlins. First of all, here's Edwin Rodriguez on Cousins starting tonight.
Yeah, you should have seen. Yeah, you should have seen his face. I think that he was asking who's Halliday. So, but nobody asked him. Nobody answered that question. He's very excited about it. And hey, if you're gonna start somewhere, it's a good way to start. Facing one of the best pitchers on the mound.
Jeff, I'm guessing that for Cousins, he doesn't care it's Halliday. He's getting a start.
He's so jacked up that it's his first major league start. He doesn't care who's on the mound, which could be a good thing. He hasn't seen him before, so he's got no preconceived notions of what pitches to look for. He might be one of those guys that gets that first mistake and does some damage with it.
Gives him a left-handed bat, which the Marlins like, and with Bonifacio batting from the left side, the Marlins will have 4 lefties in this game against Halliday. Hey, we're almost set for the start of this ball game between the Marlins and the Phillies. Rich Waltz, Tommy Hutton will call it for you as the Marlins try to get a victory in this series against the red-hot Fighting Phillies.
Moving forward, and by AT&T. Find out what's possible with the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, rethink possible. Final game of this 3-game series. A tight one last night. The Phillies 2-1 winners. And for the Marlins, they'll face a Phillies lineup that has all the familiar faces in all the familiar places. Shane Victorino in center, Placido Polanco at third. Chase Utley's at second. Ryan Howard in the cleanup spot. Howard against Jorge Sosa. This is a danger spot. 7 of 14, a couple of long balls. Jason Worth, Raul Ibanez, Carlos Ruiz has hit the Marlins very well. Wilson Valdez is short. Jimmy Rollins has rejoined the team, but he's not ready to go with the hamstring injury. And Halliday hits ninth.
Now there is the 34-year-old veteran Jorge Sosa. He has started before, but it's been a while. July 27th, 2007. He was with the Mets. It was against the Nationals. Tough man to go up against. Victorino's been hot.
Victorino takes down low. 4 hits, 3 runs scored in this series. You can see his season numbers aren't all that great. But Victorino, like many of the Phillies, has really come to life in the month of September. 11-3 in September are the Phillies. They've won 14 of their last 18 overall. And Sosa's gone 2-0. I would expect, Tommy Hutton, it had to be an interesting hitters meeting, because normally you sit down before the ballgame with the hitting coach and you scout the starting pitcher, the guy you're going to face for 6-7 innings. There's probably multiple guys they went over in their meeting. Out to center. That's Bonifacio out there tonight. And he makes the catch. Tommy, give us that Marlins defense.
I would love to, Rich. And here's a look at the Marlins defensively tonight with Logan Morrison, Bonifacio, Scott Cousins making his first start as a major leaguer. Chad Tracy, Gabby at the other corner, Hanley and Uggla up the middle, Brad Davis behind the plate. And I would also factor in, Rich, I think all the pitchers for the Marlins tonight need to be as efficient as possible, and especially Sosa, so he can give Edwin 2, 3, maybe even 4 innings.
Polanco had a big hit last night. That double in the first inning got the Phillies started, and it turned into a pitcher's duel last night. Adalberto Mendez going for the fish. He went 4 1/3, gave up 2 runs. A tapper. Tracy to his left gets the out. Cole Hamels was electric last night. 13 strikeouts. The Marlins bullpen was outstanding. Badenhop, Veras, Nunez, and Hensley all combining on 4 2/3 scoreless ball.
The other thing, Rich, to make this equation work is that the defense is going to have to be solid and airtight, get as many innings out of each pitcher, and hopefully score some runs off Roy Halladay. That sounds like an easy recipe, doesn't it?
Well, Sosa, with 6 pitches, has 2 outs, and here is Utley. Sosa's fastball misses. It's Brian Knight calling balls and strikes. Jerry Davis, Sam Holbrook, Greg Gibson on the bases. Utley has walked 4 times in the 2 games. Has a solo homer to show for his stay in South Florida. And Sosa misses low. He's not missing by much, and it's 2-0. Certainly enough starts in his career to know what he's doing. 88 career starts. Almost 200 relief appearances in the big leagues for Sosa.
He's been a guy over the years, and this is his 8th year as a major leaguer. You want to say he's had that rubber arm. He can be used in many different spots out of a bullpen. He'll change speeds, has a slider.
Utley's sitting on a 3-0. And he lost them. So here comes the guy that we showed you during the lineups. There's your Fox Tracks, brought to you by Toyota. Not missing by much, but he is missing. Here's the guy that has hit Sosa well. Ryan Howard, 7 for 14 with a couple of homers.
You know, you look at that 2 ways. I'm looking at it saying, you know what, he's gotten him out 7 times.
As well, I'll bet a lot of that damage was done when Sosa was a starter and was not having a good season. You go back in his career, Sosa started with the Rays, started with the Braves. One and 0. Howard's number's impressive, looking for home run number 30. You expect that in the next 2.5 weeks he will get it.
Well, you talked about Victorino on a nice roll now. Howard's been swinging the bat a little bit better. You know, the Phillies, because they've been there before, they know you just have to get on a nice little run at the right time.
Here's the last pitch. There's a look at Charlie Manuel. Let's take a look on Fox Tracks. It's right on the edge. But when you're not on the plate, sometimes you don't get that borderline pitch. And you know Howard's sitting on a 2-0 fastball. He gets it and hits it foul. Sosa has good life, Tommy. He can come in at 93, 94 with some movement.
You know, it's one of those sometimes you'll get instructions before a game. All right, go as hard as you can, as long as you can.
Misses up, and it's 3-1.
Got to be careful, too, with Utley over there. He always gets good jumps, good percentage in stealing bases.
Worth on deck. We're just underway. The Phillies and everybody else in the National League knows that the Nationals beat the Atlanta Braves 4-2 earlier today. And Sosa's breaking ball misses outside. The walk now to Howard with Utley now at second, Howard at first, and here comes Jason Worth.
It's another reason this is such a tough matchup for the Marlins against the Phillies. They have no left-handers. And even in the bullpen, more than likely Will Oman will not be available tonight. And when you play the Phillies, that's almost a must to have some lefties.
Multiple lefties. Here's Worth. Sosa spins one up there and gets a strike. It's 0-1. Jason Worth, quiet against the Marlins all year until this series with a home run and 3 RBIs. Got Utley at second, Howard at first. We're just underway. That win by the Nationals today perked up a lot of ears in the National League. It brought the Giants within a game of the Braves in the wild card. It brought Colorado within 2.5 games because Colorado beat San Diego 9-6, as you see the score. Charlie Manuel's Phillies now have a 2.5 game lead over the Braves in the East.
Well, that tells you a little something about the Nationals. The Marlins went into Washington, swept the Nationals in a 3-game series. They go and take 2 out of 3 from the Braves.
Up to the minute standings. You see the Braves 2.5 back. Giants just a game back. They've got the Dodgers tonight. And the Rockies keep charging. They're 2.5 back. They beat the Padres. Here's the 2-1. Well, the only strikes he's thrown to Worth were with breaking balls.
Good slider there to get Worth. I think Worth will be an interesting free agent to follow in the offseason. Might have been a backup slider. It looked like it started to move and then it came back a little bit.
Let's see what he gets here. 2-2. Fastball that is fouled back. It's an interesting situation for a manager to go into a start like this, Tommy, because normally when a guy like Sosa is out there, if he runs into trouble, you can go get him because it's the 6th or the 7th and you got somebody else. That's not the case right now.
As you and I talked before this game, there are a lot of things to factor in as a manager. You're going to have to use pinch hitters a lot, and you don't have a whole lot of guys on the bench. So that's going to be interesting as well.
Count 2-2. Breaking ball, flips it into right field. Cousins on a hop, runner coming home. Throw coming home, and he is safe. Utley just beat the tag of Brad Davis, and the Phillies are on the board. Scott Cousins made a real good throw, but with 2 outs, Utley was off and moving on contact.
Yeah, and the ball was hit a little softly off the end of the bat. A little harder hit. Cousins gets him at the plate. A good charge. We've seen him in spring training throw runners out. He has a strong arm, extremely accurate. He just is a little short with that one, But you're right, Utley got a great jump with 2 out, and a slide gets around the tag. Good effort, though, by Scott Cousins in right field.
Ryan Howard ended up at third, and of course Worth is at first, and now Sosa has to face Ibanez. So Roy Halladay has his run.
And this is exactly what Edwin Rodriguez and the Marlins didn't want, a high pitch inning. 22 pitches now for Sosa.
Because Sosa essentially has been working as a reliever. He's not been stretched out. So getting 70, 80 pitches out of him is not an option. Runner goes. Good jump by Worth. Davis, no throw.
The other thing to remember, Rich, he got the first 2 outs on 6 pitches.
Well, he's 2-0 on Ibanez with Ruiz on deck.
With the Phillies, and I'm a little alarmed that they've been able to steal as easily as they have. You've got to pay attention to their runners.
Changeup. Haven't seen him throw many of those here in this first inning.
Well, he knew Ibanez would be sitting on that 2-0 fastball.
Sosa 33 out of the Dominican Republic. Breaking ball, that ball's hit well. Left center, Bonifacio in full flight, won't get it. It gets by him. 2 runs will score. Ibanez makes it 3-0.
The way the Phillies are playing and the makeup of the Marlins with what they have to throw out there pitching is like David versus Goliath. And the Phillies are capitalizing. Ibanez with a big hit right there. Here's a guy his entire career has always hit well with runners in scoring position. Great effort by Bonifacio, just a little bit short.
Now Ruiz with Ibanez at second. And Sosa, a fastball for a strike. Of course, the Marlins are without Ricky Nolasco. The knee injury of a couple of weeks ago. Had his surgery. He is shut down. Josh Johnson is shut down with a back injury. Not serious. If this were June, JJ would probably be 2 weeks away. And of course, the Marlins have 2 starting pitchers serving suspensions, Alex Sanabria and Chris Volstad. Sanabria will start on Friday. And of course, were he not suspended, he would be starting in this ball game.
So I'll throw out my nightly Nyjer Morgan comment. The Braves have to be upset. They had to see Nyjer Morgan all 3 games in that series in Atlanta, knowing that the Marlins had 2 of their starters sitting because of suspensions and taking their suspension. I don't know if they're real happy about that, knowing that the Marlins were playing the Phillies.
Yeah, I mean, the Marlins came into this series facing Joe Blanton, who's been hot, Cole Hamels, who's been hot, Roy Halladay, who's Roy Halladay, with Andrew Miller, who gave up 7 runs on Monday night. Alberto Mendez making his second major league start. He lasted just 4 1/3. And an emergency start by Jorge Sosa tonight. Ruiz sends that into right center field. Bonifacio is there, and the inning is over. But the Phillies give Roy Halladay a 3-0 lead to start with.
del SAP.
So the Phillies have 3. Here come the Marlins. This is a lineup they throw at Roy Halliday tonight. Emilio Bonifacio, Logan Morrison, Hanley Ramirez, Dan Uggla, Gabby Sanchez, Chad Tracy, Scott Cousins, his first Major League start. Brad Davis behind the plate. Jorge Sosa in the 9 spot.
One thing about Roy Halladay, often the best pitch you're going to see is going to be the first or second pitch. He attacks hitters, then starts working on you if he gets ahead.
Well, he's out in front 0-1. Of course, Halliday just a terrific year. And this is why the Phillies went and got him. This is why he decided to leave Toronto. Was to pitch in games like this, pitch this month, and get to October. Get to the postseason.
Well, when he gets to postseason, and more than likely he is, his innings total is going to be up there. He's already at 228 2/3.
And that's true for all the Philly starters, but especially Halliday, who is such a horse with his 8 complete games, 229 innings. That one just missed. Halliday trying to pick at the corner.
I was talking to Dan Uggla about his approach against Halliday. He said a lot of it depends on what Halliday has working for him that particular game. He might give you more cutters. You may see more sinkers. You may see the curveball a little bit more than the slider. He has such an assortment, and he'll figure it out which ones he has best command of early in the game.
Little tapper towards third. This is going to be a tough play, an impossible play for Polanco, and Bonifacio is aboard. An infield hit. So the Marlins have done something in one hitter that they were unable to do back on the 29th of May, and that's get somebody on base against Halliday.
Yep, there goes the perfect game, and no chance at all by Polanco. The interesting thing about the perfect game, Juan Castro played third, and Wilson Valdez was at short, and each made a pretty good play during the course of that game.
Castro no longer with the Phillies, was claimed off waivers by the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Castro made a good play in the 8th inning on a ball hit by Jorge Cantu. Now Logan Morrison was not in that perfect game, but he did face Halliday.
Morrison takes a fastball for a strike, and it's 0-1. Now, Halliday against the Marlins, 4 starts this year, 3-1, an ERA of just over 1.13. As you would expect, the game that he lost, the Marlins scored just 1 run against him. A 2-0 win, and it was JJ who outpitched him.
This is a changeup, and look at the bottom fall out of that changeup at 84 miles an hour. And you would think, and obviously this guy's an astute pitcher, and watching Blanton use his changeup successfully and watching Hamels last night use his changeup, that we may see more changeups from Roy Halladay tonight.
Here's Hanley now. 4 for 17 in his career against Halliday.
See that pitch in that area, high 70s, that's his curveball. So that's what makes this guy so good. He has so many pitches, so many ways to get you out.
As good as he's been, he's actually given up runs in his last 4 starts. Look at that one drop.
There's that changeup again.
And Hanley goes down.
Yeah, his ERA in September is 4.91. So again, taking a page out of Blanton and Hamels, saying, you know what, the Marlins haven't adjusted to hitting changeups. I may go with that pitch.
It's the first night in a long time we've seen Hanley without that left elbow brace, which keeps him from hyperextending on his follow-through. And that may have been a factor in that swing. Yeah, his last 4 starts, 4 runs, 4 runs, 3 runs, 3 runs. He lost the 2 games at the end of August and won 5-4 and 8-4 over Milwaukee and on the road against the Mets in his last 2 starts. Runner goes, Hanley a chopper. Utley knocks it down, barehands it, fires on over to first. Bonifacio now resides at second. Here comes Uggla.
Here comes Uggla, and here comes the Phillies defensively with Ibanez, Victorino, and Worth in that outfield. They cover a lot of ground. Polanco, Valdez on the left side, Utley and Howard over on the right side. And once again behind the plate, Carlos Ruiz.
Uggla now. If there's a guy in this lineup for the Marlins that's had success against Halliday, this is the one. Uggla 6 for 16. 2 of the 6 hits home runs. Dan takes fastball for a strike. Those are your matchup numbers. Uggla has driven in 3 runs and now at 93 RBIs has a career high in RBIs. Obviously, Uggla would love to get it to 100. He's already at 30 homers. Into center field, base hit. Bonifacio around third. He's going to score. And the matchup numbers are true. Uggla drives in the first run of the night for the Fish.
And adds to that RBI total, number 94 now for Uggs. Yeah, those matchup numbers really stand out because no one else has such good numbers. He stays back, good sinker. He doesn't try to pull it, and ripped it right back up the middle.
Now remember, Tommy, a couple nights ago, we asked the question, how would Uggla fare after he finally got that number 30 off his back? And last night he was 2 for 3. Gabby sends it into right field. And Worth is there and makes the catch. Uggla has 3 hits now since that 30th home run. Drives in a run, but the Fish are down 3-1. .39 last night. So, Tommy, he is 3 for 4 since hitting that home run.
And I think you and I were both in agreement. After getting that home run out of the way, we'd see some solid swings from Dan Uggla.
What the Marlins need now are not solid swings. They need solid innings. And they did not get one in the first from Jorge Sosa. He got the first 2 outs on 6 pitches. Then he walked Utley, walked Howard. Worth an RBI single. Ibanez a 2-run double. Wilson Valdez, Halliday himself, and then Victorino in the second. And for the Marlins, the guy who gets up and pitches after Sosa kind of depends on where the game is. If it's close like this, then the Marlins may go with the more experienced guy.
I think first out of the chute, if it's a close game, we'd see either the Hopper or Brian Sanchez.
But if the Phillies put 3 or 4 more runs up on the board before Sosa exits, that could change everything. Base hit into left field. For a limited time, you can win a private party for your office at the new Marlins Ballpark sales headquarters. Just email saleshq@marlins.com with your contact information to enter. And it's that simple. You get a private catered party with mermaids, Marlins alumni, and Tommy Hutton will do the... What kind of dance will you do at that party? Salsa? A little merengue?
I think a little salsa.
That's all part of the virtual experience down there at the sales headquarters. You get the 3D seat view and the 3D view of Tommy doing the salsa.
I'd like to see that myself.
Hey, it's virtual, so we can do it.
This is an amazing stat on Halliday. He has just 1 sacrifice bunt all year, and he has 82 at bat. So that tells me he's not a very good punter.
Well, obviously a guy that's been his entire career in the American League, save the occasional interleague game, he didn't find himself with a bat in his hand.
Hey, the amazing thing, he has 12 hits, though.
Halliday, a standout athlete growing up in Colorado. First round pick of the Blue Jays back in '95. Drops down the bunt. He's got himself another sacrifice. Sosa throws him out. And the Phillies have a runner in scoring position for Victorino and Polanco.
That didn't look like a guy who had only 1 sacrifice bunt. That was nicely done.
Victorino waiting as long as he could in the on-deck circle to give his starting pitcher a time to collect himself in the dugout. It's all about being good teammates, and that's one of the things that Charlie Manuel told Craig Minervini in an interview on Marlins Live. The character and the makeup of the Phillies clubhouse has been outstanding since Charlie arrived.
Part of that is because they have a number of players. I mean, Charlie has certainly something to do with that. But they have a number of players who can police the clubhouse themselves.
The Jimmy Rollins, the Chase Utleys. I think Howard probably has grown into that role the last couple of years. On their pitching staff, I mean, Roy Halliday is an authority. Jamie Moyer has been a mentor to a lot of their young pitchers. The strike and it's 2-1. And as we pointed out throughout this series, the Phillies, the best in the National League, after the break and in September during Charlie Manuel's run. And they've set them up, they've set themselves up this year with 2 guys in their rotation who were not here last year, with Halliday and Roy Oswalt. And they've got a different Cole Hamels this year than they had last year.
Yeah, they do. It appears, anyway, they have the Cole Hamels they had in 2008, who had that great run, especially in postseason.
See the numbers for Victorino his last 10 games. Sosa is clearly laboring right now. He's at 40 pitches with 1 out in the second.
The bottom line, the Phillies have talent, but then they also have players who are getting hot and they have players who have experience. That's a dangerous combination.
We've got a very good defensive team as well, and that is often overlooked. Rollins a Gold Glover at short. Polanco's a Gold Glover, not at third, but at second. But he's playing like one at third, making that position change.
Utley's solid at second. They run the bases well.
Utley's very underrated at second. He has outstanding range, always near the top of a lot of those fielding metrics for range, zone rating. 3-2. That's pulled foul. Howard is better at first than he has been. You've got Ruiz, who runs the game so well, and that man right there, who does so well in center field. You pointed out the other night, he plays a shallow center field, but goes back on the ball so well. That's exactly what a starting pitcher or any pitcher wants to have.
He's a Gold Glover in his own right.
3-2 coming. Pulls it on the ground to Ugla. Two big hops for Dan. Look to first. Victorino is out, and Sosa needs to get Polanco out.
And then the other thing I mentioned briefly, base running, they are a good percentage stealing team, always have been, and they also run the bases well, go to first to third. So that's an all-around solid ball club.
It's a ball club that if they can win this game will be 3 games up in the National League East, with Atlanta losing 4-2 to the Nationals today. The Marlins, of course, had their full complement of starters, save the 2 injured guys, Nolasco and Johnson, as good a 1-2 combo as you'll find, going into the National Series, and the Marlins swept the Nationals. And the Nationals go to Atlanta and take 2 of 3 from the Braves. Good pitch by Sosa. Ball and a strike to Polanco.
Yeah, an interesting win for the Nationals today. Their 4 runs came on a grand slam by Justin Maxwell, who's hitting about 140. Hit it off the young lefty Mike Minor.
Of course, last night they got a great effort from Livan Hernandez. John Lannon gets the win. He's 8-7. Drew Storer in the save. Lannon, I think, is an overlooked guy in that rotation because so much of the focus on Strasburg. Marquis is healthy now.
He's a nice compliment, too, because of the way he throws. He's a lefty.
He's one of those guys that's had a very good ERA the last couple of years on a bad team and thus has had a losing record. Sosa now with a 1-2 count on Polanco. Boy, Polanco has seen it come full circle with the Phillies, hasn't he? Early in his career, the Phillies were starting to build this team.
Yeah, this is his second go-around as a Philly.
He comes back to a different ballpark and a real different vibe in Philadelphia. Bonifacio has to come a long ways, and he's there and makes the catch. And Sosa survives the second. It's still 3-1. Marlins facing Roy Halladay for the 5th time this year. And you knew in the offseason when the Phillies acquired him, the Marlins were going to see a lot of him. And they certainly have. Halladay turns and flips a breaking ball up there to Chad Tracy for a strike.
Well, I'll tell you what, the National League East has seen a whole lot of Roy Halladay. He's 11-1 with a 1.41 ERA against the National League East.
If you had a vote, and that vote were due in the ballot box in 5 minutes, who is your National League Cy Young Award winner?
Because it's kind of been going back and forth.
Well, if you,
I would say right now, because he's made a little comeback, Ubaldo Jimenez.
All right.
And Wainwright and Carpenter have gone in the other direction. Tim Hudson had a couple of bad starts. I'd say Jimenez or Halladay.
Well, Jimenez, Adam Wainwright, and Roy Halladay all have 18 wins. That one's fouled back. The ironic thing is today when I was comparing numbers, I took a peek at the ERA leaders. Hadn't done it in a couple of days just because the topic hadn't come up. And the ERA leader in the National League is Josh Johnson at 2.30. Halladay is third behind Matt Latos. Halladay's at 2.44. Latos at 2.43. There you see the top three. Then you've got Wainwright. Then you've got Hudson.
All right, I've made my decision because you wanted me to turn that ballot in right now.
Yes. Tracy drives one to right field. Worth is out there.
Because of the innings pitched, the 8 complete games, the value that he gives to his club every 5th day, I'd go with Roy Halladay.
That's my vote. So not Jimenez.
No. I thought about it a little bit more. He's got a lot more complete games.
But in the Cy Young voting, you get 3, right? You get first place votes, second place votes.
I would go Halladay, Jimenez, and maybe Wainwright.
Halladay with 8 complete games. Jimenez has 4. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those two. But I would probably lean towards Halladay. The innings load at 228. Jimenez 196. The shutouts. He leads the National League in shutouts with 3.
How about this number? He won a Cy Young in 03 with Toronto. He's been in the top 5 in Cy Young voting 5 times. And he'll be there again if he doesn't win it this year.
Cousins went around on that pitch in on his hands. Scott Cousins out of the University of San Francisco. He was raised in Reno, Nevada. West Coast Conference Player of the Year when the Marlins drafted him back in 06. 1-2. And Halladay buries that breaking ball in on him.
We're talking with Scott a little bit about it, the matchup tonight. You know, he tried to tap into Chad Tracy and a little bit with Logan Morrison about the approach to Roy Halladay. It's tough for a young hitter when you're not surrounded by a lot of veteran hitters to just help you out, get a little idea of what to expect.
Here's Brad Davis. Halladay gets a strike. It's 0-1. You had an interesting point earlier tonight. The perfect game, the Marlins lineup in that perfect game, there's a lot of guys that were in that lineup that are not in this lineup and are not here anymore.
Yeah. Chris Coughlin started in left field, led off. Gabby hit second. Hanley hit third. Jorge Cantu. Then Cody Ross. Brett Hayes caught that game. Caught the game that J.J. threw so well. And Cameron Maben was in the lineup.
Now, Maben is here, is still ill, probably available to pinch hit. He's been sick for the last 3 days. 0-2. Davis drives that ball to left center. Ibanez wanders over, makes the catch. Marlins done here in the second. 3-1 Phillies. debuts in beautiful high definition Friday night after the Cubs game. You'll get an inside look at the planning, the design, and the construction of the new Marlins ballpark. 10:30 on Fox Sports Florida, Friday night. Claude Delorme last night.
Claude had some great information. I've heard from a lot of people today. They really enjoyed hearing some of the things he had to say, some of the answers they got.
Here is Chase Utley. He is, when you go on, and we've had a chance twice to go down to the ballpark and go on a tour, having Claude with us on those tours is just an incredible resource. That ball's hammered deep to right. That ball is gone. Chase Utley is hot at just the right time for the Phillies.
Well, again, you throw him in with Victorino, who's hot. Ruiz is hot. Howard has gotten hot. And that's why everything's starting to come together for the Phillies. For Utley, just his 15th home run. Remember, he spent a lot of time on the disabled list, as have a number of the Phillies this year. But don't try to sneak this in this area. Chase Utley with that quick swing can get to it. And that one off the pole, off the screen on the foul pole.
So now Howard, who walked back in the first, and walks an undoing for Sosa back in that first inning. He had the first 2 outs, then walked Utley and Howard.
So both of those walks scored.
Changeup misses outside, and it's 2-0. Sosa at 51 pitches right now. And in all likelihood, this is his last inning.
And really, this is a bonus with the number of pitches he's thrown. If he gives Edwin one more inning here in the third, if he gives him this third inning, this is almost a bonus.
He loses Ryan Howard. And he's got Worth, Ibanez, and Ruiz to deal with. But as we pointed out, it's a different situation for Sosa lately. I know that he has starting experience, but he's been a reliever of late. And to start a game, there's no one to come in and get you if you get in trouble right away.
Well, all out of the bullpen this year. If you go back to last year, he split time in AAA with Washington and Syracuse. Had 4 starts, but that's all. And all 18 appearances with the Nationals out of the bullpen. In 08 with the Mets, 20 games, all out of the bullpen. So you have to go back to that 2007 season. The last time he started somewhat, and he started 20 games for the Mets that year.
A little conversation between Jason Worth and Brian Knight. That's off. We talk about some of the young Marlins. There's Seda down the pen, facing Roy Halliday like a Scott Cousins or Brad Davis. For Sosa, too, I mean, you get an emergency start. It's against the Phillies, who are red hot right now. So you're walking into a buzzsaw, and it's, here's the ball, give me 3 innings.
Yeah, it's not like you're getting that second division club that doesn't have a whole lot of offense.
Count 1-2. Gabby has it. And that's the first out of the 3rd inning. Toyota trend. The Phillies are trending upward. And since 05, they have the best record in baseball after the All-Star break. 99-81 versus the National League East. Look what they've done against the Atlanta Braves. Of course, the Braves and the Phillies both vying for not only the top spot in the East, but also the wild card spot. The Braves losing today, lost a half game in that wild card standing, a half game to the Phillies, and possibly a full in both, depending on how the Phillies fare here and how the Giants fare tonight against the Dodgers.
But the Dodger-Giant game last night, Clayton Kershaw pitched a 1-0 shutout, a complete game. He gave up 4 hits to the Giants. The Dodgers got 1 hit, an unearned run, and won that game, 1-0.
It's in San Francisco tonight. Sosa misses outside. Matt Cain and Chad Billingsley.
Utley thinking about that home run. He might even be thinking about his next AB.
Ibanez just hammers that ball to the right. Cousins backs up, has it. Ibanez has hit 2 balls very hard. The 2-run double and the single to right. He's hot right now, and here comes Ruiz.
You know, another thing that Philadelphia has done, I was reading an article the other day. They have tomorrow off. They're on their way back home. Then they play the Nationals over the weekend. They've made just a little adjustment to their rotation, because then the Braves come to town, and for that 3-game series, they'll see the big 3. The Braves will.
In the postseason, Charlie Manuel has gone with a 4-man rotation. Tapper to third. Tracy bobbles, drops. Everybody's safe. What you thought might be 2. And then you thought maybe he'll just get 1.
I was a little surprised that he didn't feel it go right to the bag. It looked like he was going to get it, throw to second, and he really was unsure of what he wanted to do, and that cost him. And we talked about that in the first inning. To have any kind of chance, especially in this matchup, you've got to play clean defense, and that just extends this inning.
So they're loaded with Phillies. Sosa is now at 62 pitches. And here is Valdez. Takes down low. Now Sosa's wobbling right now, and for the Marlins, you've got Seda in the bullpen ready to go. The problem is the pitcher spot is due to lead off in the 3rd. Now, you can't be too choosy in a game where you're running in relievers every other inning. That one fouled at the plate. Phillies have him loaded. Howard walked. Ibanez singled. And Ruiz reached on the error. Joe Blanton is the 4th starter right now in this.
And he's had some postseason success.
Has, and in all likelihood, if going back to 08 and 09, the Phillies have used a 4-man rotation in the postseason. Talked to Charlie Manuel about that today, and he said, you know, it all depends on what the schedule is for the division series. Get any rainouts, if there are any off days. He also talked about the importance of home field advantage, not only because you have home field advantage, but you get to choose when you want to start your first series, and it gives your starters an extra day of rest.
I think one thing, because I thought it was borderline ridiculous last year, one thing Major League Baseball did, I believe, is eliminate some of the off days. There were way too many off days between games, and players are geared to play every day. And you had some teams would play a game, then they'd get a couple of days off, and then they'd have another couple games, a few more days off. And it just was hard for teams to get any kind of continuity.
The Angels, of course, the team that was most affected, and of course Mike Scioscia, the most outspoken, and he was on that panel in the offseason of baseball people along with the commissioner. And that certainly was a hot topic, trying to eliminate the off days and the days off. If both series end early, say you've got a couple of league championship series that go just 5 games, why not start the World Series as soon as you can? But the schedule, as always, dictated so much on television and time slots. Broken bat into left field. That finds a home. And the Phillies pick up another run. It's 5-1.
And, of course, some of the matchups unavoidable. If you have one series that ends quickly and another one goes to the end, obviously you're going to have a few days off.
Well, Edwin sees Sosa at 68 pitches. He sees the bases loaded. And he also realizes he's going to have to come get him.
Can we take emails, Rich?
Here's a Maroon. He called to the pen.
When you need a car, truck or van, who you gonna call? Marooney!
Marlins now accepting deposits on 2012 season tickets. 1-877-411-2012. The number to call. Get your appointment in the new sales headquarters.
A lot to ask of a young pitcher. He does get to face Halliday, the opposing pitcher. But in just his 4th game in the big leagues, Jose Seda has to throw strikes because the bases are full.
Just an out in this inning. And Seda's first pitch is a strike. We saw Halliday drop down a bunt back in the 2nd. Of course, the whole schedule for next year has been released for every team. You can see the Marlins schedule on Marlins.com. Just go to schedules, look for a 2011 schedule. The twist to the schedule next year is that it's an early start and a weekend start. Season starts, I believe, on a Friday night.
They're trying to make sure it ends early enough so all the postseason's played in October.
Yes.
Nothing extends into November.
There are some that have suggested to end it even sooner, maybe reduce the schedule from 162 down to 158 or 152 and start the postseason in September. Here's the 1-2. Halliday a swing and a miss. And he goes down.
Go back to 154 the way it used to be. If you do that, though, you're almost going to have to eliminate interleague play if you cut the schedule. And personally, I think interleague play is run the gamut. I would be okay with that if they did away with interleague play.
Now, the other hook to that is if you reduce the schedule 152, 154, cut a week off the regular season. There's been talk about adding another wild card team and having the 2 wild card teams have a play-in game to get into the postseason. Sort of a winner-takes-all game that gets them into the postseason. Liner into right field. That's a base hit, and the parade continues for the Phillies. Victorino delivers. Base is still loaded. And now Seda gets into the meat of the order. You got Polanco, Utley, and Howard.
Interesting, last night in their win, of course it was a 2-1 ball game. The Phillies were 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position. They're 4 for 9 tonight. So a little difference.
Never a good sign when the number 2 hitter is up for the 3rd time in the ball game, and it's the 3rd inning. I think it's obviously for the Marlins a perfect storm of injuries and suspensions. And the Marlins without Nolasco and without Johnson, it really puts handcuffs on that man there.
Oh, he has no choice.
And it almost makes it real hard to evaluate over these next 2.5 weeks.
I'll tell you the other thing that's disappointing. You may have to wait for this one.
All right, we got plenty of time.
All right, bring up my disappointment next inning.
I know where the buttons are. I can push it. On the left, Craig Benervini somewhere in this ballpark. Craig?
Thank you very much, Rich. You know, the Marlins have played this Philadelphia Phillies club, even this team that's been dominating the National League, winning the last 3 East championships, winning World Series. The last 3 years, the Marlins coming into this year had won one more game than the Phillies, 28-27. If you go back the last 8 seasons, the Marlins had only lost 2 of the season series, and they've been very close. They've even won 6 more games coming in to this year against the Phillies than the Phillies have. However, this year, obviously, and you guys mentioned one of the things, with the injuries late here, it's become a mismatch in the last couple of weeks of this series. But the bottom line is the Phillies may win 13 of these 18 games when it's all said and done. And as I talked to Clay Hensley today about it, he said, you know, it's very difficult to compete against the top team, one of the top teams in your division. If you don't play well, it's very hard to get in the playoffs, to win a spot. It's a key thing to at least stay close. This year, the Marlins haven't been able to do that. And Clay said next year we're going to have to be ready from day one against these guys to know how big these games are, these swing games against the best team in our division.
That's a good point, Craig.
The point I was going to make, Rich, it's disappointing to me that we haven't seen anybody step up and give Edwin Rodriguez 2 or 3 good innings. Somebody come out of that bullpen and pitch well. Haven't seen that yet. Got a lot of arms down there.
Sauceda had to take the at-bat. Bonifacio pulls one foul. Point I was about to make regarding Edwin is when you evaluate the job that he's done as a manager, you almost have to take this final month out of the equation, because he's going up against loaded lineups. We talked about how deep Atlanta is in their bullpen and on their bench, how deep the Phillies are in their bullpen and their bench.
Right now tonight, Edwin Rodriguez on his bench has Wes Helms, Luna, Stanton, Rivera, and Maben. And we're not sure about Cameron's availability.
Here's Morrison now. He struck out back in the first.
Charlie Manuel has 9 guys over there. He's got left-handed hitters. None of those I mentioned for Edwin are left-handed hitters. They're all in the lineup. So something's gone wrong here in September with injuries, with guys who are here that maybe would have been call-ups. And it's just unfortunate that Edwin has to deal with it.
Up the middle into center field, the base hit. Now, if the ball club finishes over 500, then you really have to give a lot of credit to Edwin, because it's not going to be easy over the next 2.5 weeks with the shortage on the bench and with the loss of the 2 top starters, Nolasco and Johnson.
No, it's not. And by the way, 35 consecutive games now, Logan Morrison has reached base. He's hit in 13 of his last 14. And just to give you an idea, the all-time streak for a Marlin player in reaching base consecutively, there it is. Luis Castillo at 46, the leader.
Kevin Millar on that list. The longest streak in the big leagues this year is 42 games. Mark Teixeira.
I bet a few times on that streak for Kevin Millar, he got hit by a pitch. Kevin used to lean and turn a little bit and take it off that elbow.
Speaking of elbows, Hanley has the brace back on. He had a swing which looked painful in his first at bat, and so he's with brace now. Halliday misses in with the breaking ball. The Marlins have 3 hits and a run against Halliday. Sends it into right field, base hit. Morrison will stop at second. And Hanley has a hit.
The one thing, if the Phillies keep adding on and extend the lead, the one thing that allows Charlie Manuel to do, he doesn't have to stay with Halliday. It's tough to get Halliday out of games. He doesn't like to come out. But he will feel a little easier if he takes him out after 6 or even 7.
Because the Phillies would love to be able to conserve some of the innings that Halliday is expending between now and the postseason. It's hard to do it when you're in a race. And unless they clinch early, and all indications are that that's not going to happen, you really can't.
He's faced 13 hitters, Roy Halladay. He's 11 of 13 first pitch strikes, and he's only thrown 8 balls tonight.
Ugla liner is caught at third by Polanco, and the Marlins lead a couple. 6-1 Phils. All-time Major League home run leader for players name starting with U.
That's a good one. There's a list. You can Google that. I know it's not Bob Uecker. We got a couple of pretty good ones here in the ballpark.
How about Juan Uribe?
Got a chance. Ted Ulan. Chase Utley, perhaps.
Yeah, Utley is ahead of Ugla in home runs career-wise for second baseman. Two-0 coming to Utley, who homered his last time up.
Jeff Urgalis, Marlins bullpen catcher.
A strike. So it has to start with the letter U, right? How about Jim Hughes? Oh, that's an H, sorry. High fly. Bonifacio. Look out, Lomo. Oh, man. Morrison came charging in. And now he's going to make sure he checks in with Bonifacio.
I had a nice talk with Jack McKeon. Jack's in town. Craig and Niner had a nice chat with Jack last night, too. And we were talking about Morrison, who he's seen for the last couple of years. And he just loves Logan Morrison, and we all do. But Jack said he's going to get somebody killed in the outfield.
You know, just watching him, and we haven't seen him play a whole lot of first base. A little bit in spring training.
A little bit in spring training, yeah.
But he appears to be one of those guys that if he was playing first, would go head first into the stands after everything. There was a player long ago who was like that, and his career was cut short because he played so hard and used to run into so many walls, and he was aptly named. It was a third baseman, Mickey Klutz.
I remember. Wasn't he with the Tigers?
I'm going to have to baseball reference.
Check on Mickey Klutz. You know, certain players play that way. I know early in his career, the Expos, Felipe Alou in particular, had to tone down Vladimir Guerrero. He played that way. And they basically said, you know, you need to tone it down because we need you in the lineup every day.
Yankees, Oakland, and Toronto. Those are the teams that Mickey Klutz played for. Seda misses up and in.
You know, Jose Seda this year had some good numbers at Double-A. For Jacksonville, he had 5 saves. He was 4-1, but an ERA of 1.48 in over 30 innings.
Breaking ball, and he strikes out Ryan Howard.
Good breaking ball there, 3-2. Howard didn't expect that.
Well, Seda, of course, 2 springs ago had the shoulder injury, then the surgery, and then he, in his words, in spring training, overextended himself trying to impress everybody and kind of injured himself and had a setback. But once he got healthy, you're right, those are his minor league numbers.
Yeah, he had a few games in A-ball before he joined Jacksonville. But overall, a pretty good year Pretty good numbers for Jose Seda.
Seda runs that one away, and it's 2-0.
I think there was a time, Rich, where it was more rare to see guys who threw 95 and above. And probably because of that, young pitchers had to learn how to pitch to get guys out. Now, it almost appears guys who throw 95 and above are a dime a dozen. And you can find them, but rare is the one who knows how to pitch, and that's the one who becomes successful.
Jacksonville trying to even that series at a game apiece. That's a great point, because you just watch any vintage game of 15, 20 years ago, and announcers will remark, well, this guy throws in the mid-90s, or he touched 90 on the gun with that fastball. And so you're right. Pitchers bigger, stronger, throw harder, but it seems like that gets them through college.
It gets them attention. It gets them a nice bonus out of college.
Gets them through some of the minor leagues.
But then sooner or later, there comes a time where you have to factor in learning how to pitch.
Seda missed with the breaking ball, counts 1-1. Ibanez has hit 2 balls extremely hard. 2-run double and a line drive single. Over the middle, into center field. Worth around second. Bonifacio's throw. Tracy's tag. He's safe. And Ibanez smartly hustles into second.
An example of the hard infield here at Sun Life. That ball scoots through over his shoulder. Worth had a peek. If the throw was just on the other side, I thought Bonifacio was going to get him. If the throw was just on the other side, they would have had Jason Worth.
Marlins are going to walk Ruiz. Pitch to Valdez. (6-1) Phillies on top. It's a bullpen night. Jorge Sosa threw 68 pitches in 2 1/3. Jose Seda finished off the third, working here in the fourth.
We have a good chance tonight to see the Major League debut of Brett Sinkville.
Here comes Valdez now. If you've just happened by, Phillies trying for a 3-game sweep. Marlins shorthanded. And a Roy Halliday start has turned ugly early for the Fish. It's 6-1. Seda bounces that one up. It's 1-0 to Valdez.
And as we watch Halliday tonight, he's showing in the 90s, but he's not 95 or above.
The Braves have lost today. That would be Worth. That's Mr. Ibanez. That would be Mr. Chooch. Carlos Ruiz. 2-0 fastball is fouled off and out of play. There is Sink Bill. Said that when he got the phone call in Oklahoma to come to the big leagues, it came out of the blue, a complete surprise. He had finished his season in AAA and headed home.
So he had actually gone home. That happened a few years ago with Logan Kensing. I think the Marlins got him on his cell phone when he was in the car on his way home.
It was a bigger jump, though, for Kensing, right? Didn't he come from...
He'd been an A-ball. And had to join the club in Chicago and start a game at Wrigley Field. He did not fare well.
Liner into right. That's a base hit. Cousins has it. And the Phillies make it 7-1. Two-out rally here by Philadelphia. Here comes Edwin. He has seen enough out of Seda. And here comes the Major League debut for Sink Bill. 7-1, Phillies. Marooney called to the pen.
When you need a car, truck, or van, who you gonna call? Marooney!
For Brett Sink Bill.
First round pick back in 06. For the most part, early on in his minor league career, a starting pitcher. And it was a little bit last year he started to work out of the bullpen in New Orleans, and that was pretty much what he did all of this year. And from what we have found out in scouting Brett Sink Bill, good sinking fastball and slider. But a struggle for Sosa, a struggle for Seda, and now Edwin's turned it over to Sink Bill.
Sink Bill out of Missouri State. He throws a fastball to Halliday. How about that? In your big league debut, people will ask, well, what hitter did you face in your big league debut? Roy Halliday.
Well, one thing, there's a little bit of a comfort zone because Brad Davis has caught and handled Sink Bill a little bit.
Wild pitch. Phillies have another run. It's 8-1. Well, especially with Halliday at the plate. Bouncing one in front of the plate is not the best idea. Obviously, a little nervous when you're making your major league debut. So the count's 2-1. 2-2. Moved to the bullpen, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact he was unable to develop a good changeup,
a good third pitch.
Halliday taps it over the middle. Ugla around it. Danny flips to first. Gabby picks just in time. That saved a run. Phillies have an 8-1 lead. By South Florida Ford. Visit southfloridaford.com for great offers. By Checkers, little place, big taste. And Corona, kick back, relax with a nice cold Corona and lime. Enjoy a Corona today. Another rough night for the Fish. Roy Halladay has a comfortable cushion. It's 8-1. The Marlins going with bullpen by committee, and so far the committee has not done well.
You know, Roy Halladay on his way to his 19th win. And that would be the most by a Philly pitcher since John Denny. John Denny won 19 games in 1983. And I was a little surprised at this. The last 20-game winner for the Phillies was 1982. Steve Carlton, not surprised at the name, but the fact that it was back in 82.
Really?
Yeah.
Last 20-game
winner?
20-game
winner for the Phillies, Steve Carlton in 82.
Gabby Sanchez, Chad Tracy, and Scott Cousins. Well, Halliday is a throwback guy in terms of decisions simply because he pitches so deep in games. And the modern day pitcher who, has a great year and goes 14-10, you didn't see that 15, 20 years ago. And you don't see it with Halliday because Halliday has so many decisions. He's pitching in the 8th and the 9th inning of most of his games.
30 starts, he has 28 decisions. He's 18-10. So he'll win games 1-0, 3-2, but he'll win games 7-5 as well. Rich, that's old school.
Well, many will say that Charlie Manuel is an old school manager. Into right center, it's going to fall. Base hit for Gabby. Gabby has 1 for 2. Are you going with Utley on this? Rather than
I think Utley. Yeah.
Than Euchre or Hughes?
Yeah.
Or Underwood?
Let's see how many Chase Utley has.
Well, he added to the total with his home run tonight.
On his tail. Dan Ugla. Yeah, Willie Upshaw. We should have come up with Willie Upshaw. You had Juan Uribe.
Chad Tracy out to center. Victorino's on the job. Makes the catch. Craig, you got a U for us?
No, I don't have a U, but I wanted to jump in, guys, on the Marlins approach here. You see Tracy hitting the first pitch, Sanchez the first pitch earlier. One of the thoughts the Marlins had coming into this game was Halliday pitches late into all these games. He's been amazing with all these innings, and to not maybe take the normal approach of trying to work him into a deep pitch count and waiting for that 3-1 pitch that may never come. Aggressive early was the message from John Maley today to his ball club. If you see one, be ready right from the first pitch and take a rip at it. A little different maybe than your approach in their thought than against most guys. And you've seen that a lot here in this game tonight. Early on, if you get a pitch, take a rip at it. So far, the Marlins done a pretty good job.
I'll tell you another pitcher that same approach would work sometimes. A lot of times it didn't, because he's going to the Hall of Fame, is Greg Maddux. You wanted to try to get that first pitch, because the more he got ahead, the tougher the pitches became to hit.
Halliday has really busted Cousins in. He works him away and gets a strike.
Only 2 hitters tonight have seen 5 or more pitches. Chad Tracy and Bonifacio.
Up the middle into center field. He left it out over the plate. Did not get that pitch in on the hands. And Cousins drills it into center field. So Scott has a base hit. His first big league start. He's 1 for 2 against Halliday.
Well, he's got himself 5 hits as a big leaguer. He's 5 for 14, and he can say, you know what, took that breaking ball and Halliday wanted it in. He's been crowding him in, and it didn't get there. And Scott Cousins got it right back up the middle. Nicely done.
Brad Davis now with 1 out. Takes a fastball up and in. There's a liner into right. Marlins have another hit. And so now they're loaded. Sinkville was on deck, but the Marlins are going to use a pinch hitter in this spot. Hector Luna arrives, and as we noted in this game where the Marlins are seemingly bringing in a reliever every inning or every other inning, there's Jay Bente ready to come in. You're also going to burn up your bench pinch hitting for those guys throughout the game, and Luna's the first off the bench.
Well, I will say the Marlins have had a nice approach against Halliday, who in this inning has made some mistakes. You almost wonder if all the length and time that he's had to wait between innings, because the Phillies have had base runners and scored a couple of runs last inning, scored 3 in the third, if that's affected him at all, because he's the kind of guy who really likes to work quickly.
Luna swings and misses at a breaking ball. But it's been a rough go for Hector Luna as a Marlin. Just 2 for 22 with 10 strikeouts. He hung a breaking ball, and Luna missed it.
And that's one, if you hang to a guy who's playing every day and getting lots of at-bats, you might have to pay for it if you're the pitcher. But you hang it to someone who doesn't get many at-bats, it's just a foul ball.
Hits it to right, Worth under it. Runner tags. Gabby on his way. Moving up to third base. Behind Gabby is Scott Cousins. The Marlins have their second run. Luna delivers a sacrifice fly. So a productive out, and it's the top of the order, Emilio Bonifacio.
Tough assignment to climb back into it against the guy who has more wins in the major leagues than anybody since 2002.
field hit back in the first, and he scored on a Dan Uggla single. There's Cousins. Davis across the diamond. Marlins down 6. Halliday out in front 0-2. That Halliday can still dial it up to 93. And with great movement on it, that one almost came back and caught the plate. One and two. Troy Tulowitzki had a big game.
How about those two guys? You know, if you needed a pinch hitter, you can maybe go with Hawk, Tony Perez. Hall of Famers looking on. And I guarantee when they're watching Halliday work, they're thinking in their mind how they would approach hitting Roy Halliday. Tremendous event. I was talking to Tony Perez. He was in Cincinnati for the ceremony they had for Pete Rose. And Pete wasn't allowed to speak at the ceremony at the ballpark, but they did have a gathering with quite a few people, thousands, for a luncheon. And Tony was saying it's the first time, he said he had not ever seen that side of Pete Rose, who broke down in talking about his past, his mistakes.
And one of the things Rose said in that speech is a thank you to Tony Perez. And talked about his relationship with Tony. And Tony has said many times that it was Pete who had championed his spot in the Hall of Fame. Talked about Tony Perez needs to be in the Hall of Fame. And Tony very thankful for that part of his relationship with Pete Rose.
And Pete, in his speech, apologized to the players that were there and also to a number of his teammates who have not championed Pete Rose.
Fastball is up. Is that, in your mind, too little too late to repair the damage to get him into the Hall of Fame, or is that a step towards getting there?
I think it's certainly a step in the right direction. And in my mind, I hope it's not too little too late. First 3-ball count, by the way, for Halliday.
3-2. Good job by Bonifacio.
Yeah, he's battling.
Roy Halliday has now thrown 66 pitches, and only 14 of them have been balls. You talked about the Marlins bullpen guys needing to be efficient. You know, this is Mr. Efficient. Bonifacio hanging in there. Pitch at bat so far for Bonifacio. And the 11th, Halliday wins the battle. Marlins get a run, still down 8-2. The rotation against Ryan Dempster, who's been pitching well. Marlins Live starts at 6:30 on Fox Sports Florida. You can live forward with Just for Men hair color.
Yeah, the Marlins in that series, Anibal Sanchez will pitch Saturday against Casey Coleman. And then on Sunday, it's Andrew Miller and Jeff Smartgen.
Here is Bente making his 8th appearance.
Sooner or later, Edwin is going to need somebody, one of these guys out of the bullpen, to give him a couple of innings. Now, I understand in Sinkbill's case, he had to try to get some runs and go to the bench with a pinch hitter. So hopefully, it'll be Jay Bente who can give him 2 or 3 innings.
Victorino's 4th at bat. And it comes here in the 5th inning. He pulls that one foul. 0-1. The flying Hawaiian trying to fly into October and into the postseason. Breaking ball in the dirt. Last year, Victorino in the division series hit .353. In the NLCS hit .368. The Yankees held him to a .182 average in the World Series.
He had 23 RBIs in postseason. He's been Rule 5 twice.
Yes.
So you talk about a guy who's put it together. He's not quite 30.
Bonifacio can't get it. And with Victorino, the flying Hawaiian is nicknamed that because he can fly. Triple.
Well, the ball really carried, and I think it fooled Bonifacio. Right about there, I think he thinks he's going to make the catch. And the ball carried over his head. Right there, he's got a beat on it, and then it just took off over his head. Victorino with his 10th triple of the year. He got 24 doubles, 10 triples, and 17 home runs. What a solid year for the Flying Hawaiian.
He led the majors in triples last year with 13. Polanco follows with a hit to left. 9-2. Bente has given up a triple and a single to open up the 5th inning.
And now he gets to face Utley and Howard.
Number 46,
if you're keeping score of this game, God bless you. Please stop. Jorge Sosa 2 1/3. He gave up 6 hits, 6 runs, 4 of them earned. Jose Seda gave up a run in an inning and a third. Sinkbill got an out and gave up a run.
There will be a lot of guys around baseball, in particular the Atlanta Braves, looking at the box score saying, Seda, Sinkbill, Bente. But it's an opportunity for young pitchers.
Utley with a runner at first. Bente's best pitch is that fork ball, but as we talked about, the challenge for him is to turn himself into a guy like Brian Sanchez, a guy that can command his fastball and then throw the fork ball.
Yeah, Bente in his 5th year in the Marlins organization. 14th rounder in 06.
Counts full on Chase Utley. Cubs here Friday and Saturday night and a Sunday afternoon as well. Then the Marlins have another off day before the Mets come in for a brief 2-game series. There's a shot into right field. Cousins is back and he makes the catch at the track. Actually, I'm looking at the schedule. I forgot to pencil in the Cardinals game. The makeup game on Monday, so no off day. The Cardinals are here for a limited time engagement of just 1 day, in and out.
I believe a 3 o'clock start.
Yeah. I think all tickets are $5.
Yeah.
And on Marlins.com, you can get tickets, lower reserve tickets. You can buy the best seat in the house, I believe, for just $5 for that makeup game.
And if you don't, you can check in with Dave Van Horn and Glenn Geffner, Marlins Radio Network.
Tommy Hutton will be here and will be conducting a live chat on FoxSportsFlorida.com that day.
You know what? David V said that he would be willing to do that. So I think David V maybe.
You're off the hook? 2-0.
I think the twist, from what I understand, the rumor, I think it's more than a rumor. The twist in that radio broadcast on Monday against the Cardinals is that the middle 3 innings will be handled by Dan Le Batard, his sidekick, Stu Gatz, and David Sampson will be doing the play-by-play in color.
3-man booth. Who's going to do play-by-play and who's going to do color?
I would guess Le Batard would do the play-by-play.
So if you come to the ballgame, you want to bring a radio. You want to hear that.
Yeah. You want to get a great seat for $5. See, now you can be, in contrary to sometimes Dan Le Batard texting you, you can text him in the middle of that game.
We can give him some words to say. As during our auction the last 2 years, he's, for a generous donation,
yes, he
has chipped in to the community foundation. But the ground rules have always been we had to work a few words into the telecast. Gabby thought about second. Staps on first base. So there are 2 outs. See, this is the type of game where you need a Dan Le Batard and a Stu Gatz. A 9-2 game in the 5th, and you're on your 4th.
You mean because now we could go home?
Well, we could go home for one thing, and
or we could sit behind them and kibitz. Oh, what a grab by BD, Brad Davis, on a pitch that just got away from Bente. Low target. He has to go up and spear it out of the air. Not sure how he made that play. That's a great play. Fox Tracks would not have had that.
Into right field, Cousins is back. Now he's in. And he makes the catch. Phillies add a run, up big, 9-2. robbing first Ryan Howard. And then starter Cole Hamels thought he had a hit. Then Uggla going to his right. Started a nice double play. Logan Morrison stands in. Halliday delivers. Our Geico quote of the night. Morrison standing in. Swing and a miss.
As that sinking cutter, it just goes down and in. He's used that very effectively to the left-handed hitters. That's the way he's pitched Morrison and Scott Cousins.
Morrison, Hanley, and then Uggla. All three have hits.
Went right back in there again.
Now, Tommy, a much anticipated Geico quote from Dan Uggla. I take a lot of pride in my defense. I know everybody thinks I stink because of that stupid game a few years ago, the All-Star game, but I really work hard at it. It's very prideful. Roller out towards second. Utley gobbles it up, flips it on over to first.
That's a great quote, and certainly it's true. There's a lot of truth to that. People see one game, and all of a sudden, a bad game in the All-Star game, and Dan Uggla's a horrible fielder. And we've said it before, he's not going to win a Gold Glove. But you know what? He's much improved, and he does take pride in it. He works at it.
Fielding percentage-wise, Uggla near the bottom of second baseman in the National League. But if you look at some of the metrics, zone rating, range factor, Uggla's right in the middle. You know, a guy that, and we talked about earlier in the telecast, who does not have a great fielding percentage, but is at the top or near the top of all those metrics, is Chase Utley.
And sometimes you get penalized a little bit because you get to balls, because you have good range.
Hanley swings through that one. I think that left elbow is barking at him.
Well, again, with a short bench and the fact that Luna's already pinch hit. You know, if that elbow's barking, you know, you may in another situation, you could bring Hanley out of the game. But then you have to figure out, all right, you'd probably bring Bonifacio in to play short. You got to fill the outfield spot, so it creates some problems.
You bring Stanton in, Cousins to center, but like you said, if you're going to keep running relievers in, you need some pinch hitters too. Two and two.
It's like a spring training game when one of the buses broke down.
The problem was the guys driving the bus, Ricky and JJ.
Yeah.
Hanley hit that ball twice.
Yeah, he's really flexing that elbow. Came back, he hit it again on the backswing. Look at that. And then that caromed it over toward Dan Uggla.
Halliday figured if he's having trouble extending, he'd try to get him to chase on something outside. Counts full 3-2. Hanley hits it in the air to right. Worth makes that play. We check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Thank you very much, Rich. The Marlins have had 5 guys in their history who have hit 20 or more home runs in one season. That fifth, of course, is here tonight, but not starting. And Dan Uggla, of course, leads the list. But look at the right side column. That's what's interesting here. The at-bats, Uggla 27. I think people forget the Hammer hit 26, just over 500 bats. Jake did it. Preston did it. And there's that guy, Mike Stanton. But look at the at-bats. 299 at-bats, less than half of what Dan had in his rookie year. Yesterday, Stanton went 0 for 4. He's going to have those kind of days. And Charlie Manuel was telling us, you know, that's going to happen with a rookie. And Charlie actually was worried about Stanton tonight. He said he's not in the lineup. And he said, well, that's even better. But he's going to have those days. It's been an amazing rook season for Stanton at the young age of 20. You see what he's already done. A group there led by Dan Uggla in Marlin history.
Yeah, it's amazing when you think about it. When Mike shows up to spring training next year and gets ready for the 2011 season, he'll be the ripe old age of 21. He won't be able to rent a car for 4 or 5 years.
Just hope the bus doesn't break down.
But you know what? 4 or 5 years, you'll be able to buy a real nice one.
Probably a lot more than just one, too.
Yeah.
9-2 Phillies.
Español vía SAP y es presentado por KFC.
All right, we're not going to pin this on Tito tonight, okay, Tommy?
No, we can't. We can't blame Tito.
Hi, Tommy. Hi, Richie. How you guys?
Hi, guys.
Tito, how are you? Cookie, how are you?
Good, guys. How you doing?
How are you?
Good. Just one of those nights, you know, the Marlins knew they were up against it. They needed Jorge Sosa to at least come in and get him off to a good start. That didn't happen, and it's all been downhill since.
Well, I think since they looked at the scoreboard and Atlanta lost 42, you know, I think that activity that Charlie Manuel has started working from the first inning. And very unfortunate that we have two guys that have been suspended, and this would have been the time to pitch. So we're trying to do the best we can with our bullpen, but it hasn't worked. This club is very good in every way.
Yeah, it's really, Cookie made it tough for Edwin to try to manage and piece this game together, too.
Well, no question about it. I mean, I think he's done a tremendous job so far, and I hope that he can continue doing so. And in this particular game, if Sosa doesn't give you any innings and hold you 3 or 4 innings, and, I mean, he has to use 4 or 5 guys out of the bullpen. And, well, the experience of this ball club against the younger pitchers is going to pay off, and it has had that for the Phillies.
Raul Ibanez 3 for 3. A Miami guy. Still makes his offseason home in parts.
He was a great acquisition by Ruben Amaro Jr. And I'll tell you what, the moves that they have made in the past, including this year, acquiring Roy Oswalt from Houston. You know, he's 6-1 right here with the Phillies. And Ibanez has done a tremendous job since he was acquired from the Seattle Mariners. I think that he definitely is a veteran left-handed hitter that has paid off for it.
1-2 coming from Bente. Cookie, can you give us an inning? Can you pitch tonight?
I have done that before. I don't want to spoil my ERAs. It's 0-0-0.
Oh, well, wait a minute. Now, we've heard about Tommy's pitching adventure.
Where'd you pitch, Cookie? Go ahead.
I pitched with the Philadelphia Phillies.
And who was it
against? The Giants, and I pitched against Willie Mays.
What'd you get Willie on?
A little fly ball to right field.
What was your out pitch?
I had the sinker, no velocity, The harder I threw, the slower it went to the plate.
What a great story. You can tell people you got Willie Mays out.
Well, absolutely. And,
Now, were you on the giving? Were you getting blown out, or was your team up by a lot? What happened?
No, that's exactly what happened. They scored, 12 runs in the first game against the Giants, and the second game was nothing, 11-0, and Jim Mock did not want to use any more pitches, and he said, you pitch in the 9th inning or the 8th inning. And I went down and warmed up and came over and finished up that inning without any runs and completed actually the 9th position. I'm the first player in the National League to play 9 positions.
When did you catch?
I caught in a couple of occasions. When Clay Dalrymple got hurt, I came in and remember Willie Mays slid into home plate and hit him, and I hurt him, and I had to cut that game. And then another game I had to do it in Chicago too when Triandos was there and they needed a pinch hitter, so I came into the game as a catcher. So,
was there ever talk, because some guys have done it all in one game, was there ever talk of you doing it in one game?
No, that's just for publicity. That was Cesar Tovar and I think Bertrand Panaris.
Yeah.
The two guys, but I completed it in different games, different situations. Gene Mock believed a lot in platooning, as you well know. So I will play second base one day, then Taylor might be on third base, and then vice versa. And, Taylor go to second base, and I went to center field, and then another day he went to left field or right field. So I went all around all the positions. So it's a great experience because it helped me a lot, no question about it.
So yours was not a publicity stunt. Great stop by Ugla. High throw, and Ruiz is aboard with an infield hit. So you were legit, Cookie. It wasn't a publicity stunt or an exhibition, was
it? Absolutely.
Did you have, because now when we see guys that play multiple positions, infield, outfield, they have 4, 5, 6 different gloves. How many gloves did you have for all those positions?
Well, I'll tell you what. I have the one glove in which I played all 9 positions, and I have it framed, And no, it's the truth. And the Hall of Fame ones that I haven't sent it, but I do have it framed where I played all the 9 positions with that particular glove. And I have the dates on which I did it.
So even when you caught?
I caught with a glove.
Well, you didn't use a catcher's mitt, huh?
No,
That's a great piece of memorabilia.
And you played first with a regular glove, not a first baseman's glove.
No, there I used the first baseman glove, but I did use it too, to complete that cycle that I was talking about. See?
So, we thought this was just going to be, hi, Cookie, hi, Tito, how are you?
You see? Full of information.
Yeah.
The thing that you learn about the different position is if you play in the outfield and then you have to charge the balls in, and when you come back to the infield, you have to remember that you don't have to charge the ball that much. You have to know exactly what position you're playing. And I have to keep that in your mind because at shortstop, you can't lose any time. At second base, you got more time. At third base, okay, it's a ball is hard, you got more time. But when you go back to the outfield, and all of a sudden, you have to be charging those balls real hard and trying to keep the runners from advancing, So you have to keep all those things in your head when you're playing different positions like Bonifacio. I think Bonifacio is a good example of how well he has played in the outfield and how well he has played when he came into the infield.
Yeah, and the same with when Amezaga was here.
That is correct.
Amezaga.
Exactly.
Here's the 1-2. Hey, last night after we asked you what the Spanish translation for crack staff was, we had an emailer that sent in a suggestion.
Brujeria.
Sábelos todos.
Sábelo todo.
Oh, sábelo todo, yeah.
The one that I know very well is I really know that I know nothing. Yo solo sé que no sé nada.
Well, you know what? That goes right along with our crack staff.
Yep. That's right. Exactly.
Kind of the way we feel tonight.
Yes, sir. No question.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. And a roller towards third. Might be 2. Ugla makes the catch. No out at first. All right, guys.
All right. Have a great one.
Good session tonight. We feel much better now.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Gilberto Santa Rosa is coming out to play on a Super Saturday against the Cubs. First 25,000 fans getting Marlins Latin cowbell courtesy of Metro Ford. Post-game fireworks, of course. You know, that's a good point. High fly ball off the bat of Halliday. We should have asked Cookie about a Latin cowbell. Well, we can do that tomorrow night. 1-877 Marlins, the number to call for that Super Saturday.
Tomorrow night for you, Friday night for me.
Oh, you're right. And Halliday in control. And for Halliday, this would be win number 19, a step closer to 20, a step closer possibly to a National League Cy Young Award. Our legendary performance brought to you by Cabot. Premium wood care by Cabot. 2004, Mike Lowell tags out the Expos' Brian Schneider to complete a hidden ball trick at Dolphin Stadium. Here's the flash.
So he's just able to put the bat on it easily.
And hang on here. We got an out at third. That's Brian Schneider out at third. We'll try to sort out what happened with the Marlins heading into the dugout.
Maybe a little hidden ball trick. We'll get back to you on that.
Gabby Sanchez with his hidden ball trick. That one is out.
Yeah, that's a quick hidden ball trick. Just take it out to left field. Home run against Roy Halladay. You know, he's allowed 23 on the year. But good to see Gabby with a couple of hits tonight.
So 2 hits for Gabby, 18 homers on the season. He's driven in 77. And just a hanger, and he punished it. Here is Chad Tracy now. All right, we were talking last inning about Monday's game with the Cardinals in, and Tommy, you brought up the great point that it's not must-see TV because it's not on TV, but it's a must-listen on the radio because of the middle 3 innings. From 790 The Ticket, Dan Levitard, Stu Gatz, and then David Sampson will be there as well.
He'll be a third man in the booth, yeah.
And you suggested maybe we get Dan Levitard a few words that he can use during his broadcast, and so we got him on the phone. Dan, how are you?
I'm excited about this. I think the Marlins will easily rally here against the bum the Phillies have on the mound.
So are you home preparing for the broadcast Monday?
Oh, it's going to be such a disaster. I'm terrified. I've already begun sweating. By the time Monday gets here, I'm just going to be dehydrated.
So we were asking ourselves who's going to do play-by-play, and then who's going to be the analyst in that trio.
I assure you that I will be doing nothing but making jokes. I am not going to be contributing to the broadcast in any meaningful way.
Here's the 2-2 to Chad Tracy, and that's fouled off. So it will just be free-form radio for 3 innings, which could be a lot of fun, actually.
I'd be happy to take suggestions if you guys have any tips, if your viewers have any tips. I don't know how to do it. I know that most people watching and listening don't have any earthly idea of how hard it actually is to make it sound as easy as you guys make it sound.
Come on. It's easy.
I mean, you know, I'll tell you what, games such as this one tonight are much harder than the 2-1 or 3-2 game. We have a lot of action, a lot of good plays.
Which is why we're desperate enough.
That's why we called you.
To call you.
I'd have an easier time performing a cesarean section than doing what you guys are presently doing.
There's the radio guys, Dave Van Horn and Glenn Geffner. So on Monday, the Cardinals and the Marlins, it's a limited time engagement for the Cardinals. They're here for just the one game. It's a makeup game. And you guys are helping sponsor that day. There's a lot of things going on with $7.90 the ticket. I think all seats are $5 for fans. There's the 0-1.
Assortment of things going on. Excuse me, I'm not watching the game right now.
Don't worry.
That's okay.
I didn't mean to step on your call there. Something very important and historic just happened?
No, we're not watching it either.
No.
We've got Jorge Sedano on morning show throwing out the first pitch. The Sports Brothers are going to tear down the number on the wall, and my father, in heavily accented Cuban, is going to try and sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
You know, I'll tell you what. The other night at the Marlins Fish and Chips, I had a chance to meet you and your father, and I've heard your show, and I've heard oftentimes you play what I thought was, I wasn't sure if it was your father, his Marlin rants, and then when you introduced me, I asked him about Gabby Sanchez, and he went, "Oh, Gabby," and that was him. That's actually your father that you just literally call up, and he loves the Marlins, but man, he lives and dies with them.
See,
doesn't he?
It sounds like I could rant with your father.
He's got a little bit on you. I've heard you go on one of your, when you get agitated. But he's kind of like Randy Quaid in the Major League movie, The Fantasy. He loves and hates his team. I mean, I was mortified at that event that we did the other night with you guys because he literally walked by Mike Stanton, shouted 2 for 59, and ran away laughing. That's
He's a brave man.
You guys are laughing. That's not funny. That's my father. I'm allegedly a journalist. Like, that's not funny. That's horrifying.
But you know what? It was all for a good cause.
My shame?
Well, and shortly after that, Stanton went on a tear.
Yeah, so make sure you bring your dad around and introduce him to Stanton before the ball game, and maybe Stanton will get hot again.
So, I'm thinking in the major leagues, outside of maybe Adam Dunn, who do you want to do that to less than Mike Stanton?
That's a good point. At 6'5", 240, and still growing at 20. All right, well, Dan, we appreciate you stopping by. We just wanted to get the details on Monday. Tommy and I will be listening, and we certainly appreciate your support for the Marlins Community Foundation. You've been a big supporter over the years, so we look forward to Monday. Good luck. And wait a minute, we have to give you a couple of words to use. Tommy, you got a word you want him to work into the telecast or to the radio broadcast?
Fruition.
Any particular reason? Just because it's got a couple of syllables in it?
It just came out. You know how that stuff happens.
I'll go with Hassenpfeffer.
All right, we'll try and get him. We'll try and get him in. I fully expect baseball, our most historic game, to be broken by us on Monday.
All right, Dan Le Batard, thanks for the visit.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Dan, thanks.
What are we doing? I mean,
we have pinch hitter Wes Helms.
Well, I know that, but why did we let Le Batard go if the Marlins are rallying here? What were we thinking?
Good point. Got the Gabby home run.
Right.
Chad Tracy single, but Scott Cousins, Brad Davis struck out. So Brian Sanchez will be next on the mound. Yeah, interesting. The 8 strikeouts tonight for Halliday, a season high. He's given up 10 hits, but that's something he's had a number of games this year where he's given up double figures in hits.
We talked about his last 4 starts.
And he stays in games, and he's not going to walk guys.
He's given up runs. He hasn't been a guy that's been putting up zeros over the last 2.5, 3 weeks. And it will be interesting to see how he reacts to his first taste of the postseason. You know it's something that he desperately wants and has been thinking about throughout his career. Anytime you play with a team that never gets to the postseason, you finally get your chance. It's got to be a real rush.
Yeah, and you have to figure this is going to be his last inning, which is very interesting. He has pitched 6 or more innings in 53 consecutive starts on the road. So he needs to get another out to accomplish that here tonight. And then you see that that's the longest streak. 53 consecutive starts on the road, 6 or more innings. Longest streak since Walter Johnson did it back in 1911 through 1915.
One and 2 now to Bonifacio. Of course, if you read the Sports Illustrated baseball preview issue, the article about Halliday was just jaw-dropping about his work ethic, the fact that he would arrive at the Phillies complex before the sun was up, 5 a.m.-ish.
I think he had his own key.
That is strike 3 called, and Halliday walks off the mound. Marlins get another run, but still a long ways away. In this one, it's 9-3. Time for the Coors Light Freeze Cam. This is Gabby's home run. Look at the eyes right down the barrel of the bat. And for Gabby, a final push for these last 2.5 weeks. It'd be nice to see him get hot. Coors Light Freeze Cam. Get those numbers up when they start deciding who's going to be the National League Rookie of the Year.
A couple of things. See, he's going through that stretch that Buster Posey won't have to worry about. Remember, he hadn't been at the Major League level all year. Plus, Buster Posey is playing in a much cooler weather, temperature, San Francisco, and in a pennant race. That makes a lot of difference. And, of course, Jason Hayward's in that pennant race, wild card chase as well.
And Jaime Garcia of the St. Louis Cardinals certainly has to be in the discussion.
You like him. He's not going to win it, though, but you like him. Usually the year a pitcher wins it, it's when there hasn't been much offensively from players. But there are too many offensive guys this year that are rookies.
Victorino with Polanco and Utley. The roller to Ugla. And Victorino is out here in the 7th. That's going to bring up Placido Polanco. Giants and Dodgers square off later on tonight. Cincinnati and Arizona has tightened up 5-4. The Reds on top of the Diamondbacks. I saw where Diamondback television analyst Mark Grace was making time with our gal in Cincinnati. Rosie Red apparently making an appearance to the Diamondbacks broadcast booth. Gracie doing actually a little dance with her. And the next night he had another visitor, and it was Mr. Redlegs.
Mr. Red didn't really like what he saw the night before. I think there were some words exchanged.
Davis, he runs out of room. Now I will say this: when Rosie paid a visit to our booth, she must have kept it on the QT because there was no
visit from Mr. Red.
No subsequent visit from Mr. Red at all.
So what's that tell you about Rosie?
Lexus league leaders, singles leaders. Are you guys in the truck trying to imply that Rosie Red is single? Yes. That's how the crack staff gets in on the conversation. They can't do it with their voice, Tommy. They do it with their graphics.
With their graphics.
Well, thanks to JM Lexus for providing that avenue for the crack staff. Bonifacio makes the catch, and Polanco is out number 2. Here comes Utley.
So far, every pitcher tonight, with the exception of Brett Sinkbill, who made his Major League debut and got an out. He did not give up a run, but everybody else has. And here's an opportunity for Brian Sanchez. If he can get Utley, he would have the first 1-2-3 inning. And maybe the game ball.
There will be a brief ceremony if that happens behind home plate. You know, there have been games like this that have turned into no-hitters. There have been no-hitters where there have been 3-4 guys that have worked the no-hitter.
Mm-hmm. I think the Atlanta Braves had one a year or two ago. Activity in that Phillies bullpen, so that's going to be all for Halliday.
Ground ball, Gabby over, has it.
And there it is.
1, 2, 3. Just like that.
the night is done for Roy Halladay. He turns it over to Chad Durbin. 9 strikeouts, a season high for Halliday. He leads the National League now with 210 strikeouts, just a couple ahead of Tim Lincecum, the Giants.
Tommy, just for kicks, I looked up combined no-hitters, and it looks like there have been 9 combined no-hitters in Major League history. The record for pitchers combining to throw a no-hitter is 6, set by the Houston Astros.
Houston, that's right.
On June 11th.
That was the one I was thinking of when I said Atlanta.
And the starting pitcher for that ball game is in the house. Roy Oswalt. Then Pete Monroe, Kirk Saarloos, Brad Lidge, Octavio Dotel, and then Billy Wagner. There's some good pitchers in that group.
Guys who are still going along pretty well.
Oswalt pitched 1 inning and was pulled because of an injury. Monroe went 2 2/3. And then the bullpen carried it the rest of the way. Lidge retired all 6 that he faced over the 6th and the 7th. And he ended up getting the win.
Who was it against?
The Yankees in 2003. So that's a team that went to the World Series.
Yeah, a little interleague play.
Only one guy has ever thrown a no-hitter as a starter and also contributed to a no-hitter as a reliever. You got to think 80s. Angels. Mike Witt. He threw a perfect game for the Angels.
He threw a perfect game on the last day of the season. It was in Texas, I think.
And then he was in relief of Mark Langston after 7 innings when Langston no-hit Seattle. Logan Morrison in the gap, off the wall. Lomo's thinking 3. And he's going to get it.
How about Logan Morrison leading the club now with 5 triples? He had his 16 doubles, couple of home runs. And he just shows you why you can get excited about this guy for the next number of years. He plays hard. He's got a great swing. He's not thinking double. He knows it's a score where the game's a little out of hand. He takes a peek. He knows he has himself a triple. Going hard all the way. It's the only way he knows how to play.
So up comes Hanley now with an RBI, waiting at third base and nobody out.
So if you weren't with us earlier with Logan's single, he extended that streak of 35 consecutive games of reaching base. He has a couple of hits tonight.
Hanley tonight has a base hit, and he's flied out and bounced out. He's been in some pain, and it appears to be that left elbow that's bothering him.
Logan Morrison, Rich, by the way, came into the game hitting .355 against the Phillies with 11 hits. So now 13 hits against Philadelphia, and upping that average around .370.
Going 2. Hanley can't check the swing, and it's fouled off.
Well, I tell you what, that ball appeared that it went over, a lot over, but over the head of Dan Uggla in the on-deck circle, and we cringe every time we see that now after we saw what happened to Logan Morrison.
Fastball up from Durbin. As you look at this Phillies ball club, offensively right now they're firing on all cylinders. Starting pitching, dynamite. Hey, look, Charlie Manuel and the Phillies are playing the way they've played over the last 3-4 years this late in the season. However, one thing seems to be missing, Tommy, and that's a lights-out lefty out of the bullpen.
Yeah, he's had a lot of trouble with J.C. Romero.
Fastball misses in, and it's 2-2. Three-two count to Hanley. Morrison's at third. Marlins are down 6 here in the bottom of the 7th. And Durbin seems content to pound him inside. Mets are beating the Pirates 8-5 in the 8th.
Mets have been rolling over the Pirates.
Cubs and Cardinals 1-1 in the 6th.
Have you looked lately as to the Pirates road record? And the Pirates are in New York for that game tonight.
I have to admit, I prepare and read a lot of things, but that one escaped me.
The Pirates are 15-57. They're about to go 15-58 on the road, the worst road record in baseball.
Hanley, a grounder up the middle. That'll get the run in. Hanley is thrown out. Game summary. Remember, this was Roy Halladay against the Marlins bullpen. It's brought to you by Land Rover. All yours, Tommy.
All right, I'll take it away. It started. Jason Worth got himself a base hit. Phillies got on the scoreboard. Raul Ibanez has had quite a night. That's one of 3 base hits for him. How about Chase Utley putting one off the foul screen, his 15th home run of the year. Wilson Valdez has a couple of hits in the game. Victorino always seems to get hits against the Marlins. And then, you know what? They scored all those runs and said, okay, Doc, take it away. And he's on his way to his 19th win.
Douglas sends a fly ball out to Victorino, who camps under it, makes the catch.
An interesting game, though, for Halliday, 6 innings. The Marlins were able to get 10 hits off Halliday. They scored 3 runs. He didn't walk anybody. He had a season-high 9 strikeouts.
Good night for Gabby. 2 for 3, a single, a homer. Durbin with a breaking ball. 1-0. Boston winners beating Seattle 5-1. And of course the Rays and the Yankees, a drama-filled series in St. Pete. It's 4-3 Rays in the 8th. The Rangers are beating Detroit by a score of 8-5. Texas has a 9-game lead over Oakland. The A's right at 500 going into play today at 72-72. Gabby sends that one to right. Worth is there, and he makes the catch. Chad Durbin gives up a run. The Marlins are down 5.
of the 8th inning. The Braves lost today, lost the series to Washington. They only have now 15 to go, and after this, the Phillies hoping a victory. Same story. They will play, ironically, the exact same teams on the stretch here. We'll look at their remaining schedule here right after the pitch, including, of course, as we mentioned, 6 against each other. And obviously with the Braves here potentially falling, if the Phillies can hang on to this lead, 3 back. It's important. The next game's coming up for Atlanta. Look at the stretch here. The Phillies have 9 straight at home with their 19 over 500, including the 3 against the Braves. The Braves, meanwhile, go on a 9-game road trip, and they have not played well. Shockingly, they're 10 under on the road at 31 and 41. And if they don't have a good stretch here on the road, and in particular in the games against Philadelphia and vice versa, they could be almost out of it by the time the last week comes along, maybe making those 3 games meaningless, at least as far as the division is concerned. And then, of course, they'll have a shot at the wild card as well. Now, let's not write them off either, because they've had a great season. They got a lot to play for. But there could be 3 out here, and really needing to have a good road trip to stay in it, especially against the Phils.
Well, I think that's why Charlie Manuel and the Phillies are loading up and kind of switching a couple of things in their rotation. So for that first series against the Braves, they've got their big 3 pitching with Halliday and Oswalt Hamels.
And guys, there's a similar situation in the West where the San Diego Padres have a very tough stretch to finish their season. And you look at San Francisco's schedule, the Giants may have a little easier road of it. And, of course, Colorado plays so well at home. Don't forget about the Rockies. The Rockies, with their win over San Diego, have pulled within 2.5 games of the wild card. There's your East standings. The Braves are the wild card leaders with the Giants a game back, and that could move to half a game if the Giants beat the Dodgers tonight. The Rockies have already won. They're 2.5 back.
You talk about picking up ground in a hurry. Remember, the Padres had a 10-game losing streak. The Rockies, not quite at the same time, but a little bit after, had a 10-game winning streak. So they picked up a lot of ground on the Padres.
Full count, Brian Sanchez working here in the 8th against Ryan Howard, with Jason Worth due up next. This is a ball game that the Marlins have stayed close enough that Charlie Manuel hasn't been able to rest some of his regulars. Off day tomorrow, so everybody gets a day off, but Charlie knows, he's seen enough for the Marlins to know you got to keep the pedal on the gas.
Yeah, I'm sure he's thought about it. You got to run in the 6th, you got to run in the 7th.
Just looking at the Rockies' schedule, they are done with the Padres. They play the Giants 3 times. They've got the Dodgers 6 times. They go to Arizona, and then they finish in St. Louis. Good fastball by Sanchez. He's out in front 0-2. Ryan out of Lamar University. He and Clay Hensley, both products of that school.
I think Brian Sanchez has really established what he can do at this level. He's a quality arm. He's got a couple of good pitches. He spots his fastball. He's got that fork, split chains, whatever he calls it, that can get hitters out. And sneaky enough with his fastball. He saw Worth behind on that one.
Last year was a breakout season for him, and you always wonder when a guy finally has one of those seasons, can he follow it up with another solid year? Can he start building that track record? Padres and Giants finished the year in San Francisco for a 3-game series.
That could be interesting.
Padres also have to play the Reds as well still. All right, let's Jaguar this. Oh, Roy Halliday has got to be the Jaguar guy tonight. Halliday bidding for win number 19. In control throughout. Not overpowering. Certainly not perfect like the Marlins saw him in late May. But pretty darn good.
It will be his 4th win against the Marlins this year. He'll go 4-1 in his 5 starts. And for one game he lost was that game after the perfect game that he faced up against Josh Johnson again in Philadelphia. He went 8 innings, gave up 6 hits and a run, just 1 run. Marlins won that game 2-0.
Nice job by Davis to block that ball in the dirt.
So that was his only loss against the Fish.
Ibanez 3 hits. He's 3 for 4. Sunset High School product. And one of those guys, a very late round pick that got to the big leagues, 36th round out of Dade Community College. Took him a long time to get to the big leagues. But once he got established, he's had a very nice career.
Man, a nice move. Cookie was talking about it earlier, how Ruben Amaro made the deal. And basically, Ibanez was replacing Pat Burrell. Pat Burrell was kind of on the decline. He had some big years with the Phillies. And a lot of people question it because Ibanez is no kid. He's 37. But it's proven to be a good deal. Last year, a solid year. He had 34 home runs and 93 RBIs last year.
He's hit it hard all night long. Ugly to Hanley in time to get the double play. So Ryan Sanchez, the best reliever of the bunch so far tonight. Wake up, Dad.
Oh. That's a great sight.
Well, the Phillies dip into their pen. Ryan Madsen comes in. Roy Halliday started. Chad Durbin inning. And now Ryan Madsen.
Talking the other day about, of course, we see these guys so often in the National League East, but guys who seem like every time the Marlins play, and I mentioned it in D.C., you're going to see Tyler Clippard. You play the Braves, you're going to see Peter Moylan. You play the Phillies, you're going to see Ryan Madson.
Tracy, Scott Cousins, and Brad Davis. Chad tonight is 1 for 3. Well, you know, it's a tight enough game as well. We talked about the regulars staying out there on the field, but Charlie's also using his A team as far as the bullpen.
Yeah, with Durbin in the 7th inning, and now Madsen. I agree. I think a different score. If they were leading by more, he would have used some different pitchers.
Halliday, 9 strikeouts, no walks in his 6 innings, 10 hits. Durbin, ouch, that hits Tracy. Fastball that came up and in. Another look.
Adding with that fastball. Certainly no intent at this point of the game. The last time these two teams will meet.
Which is a good thing for the Marlins.
Yeah, it's not been a good meeting this year. And as Craig pointed out earlier, there were some years where the Marlins played the Phillies very well. This has just not been one of them.
Last year was dead even, 9-9. .12-5 Phillies so far, and they're 6 outs away from finishing the year 13-5 against the Fish, which is odd for the Marlins because the Marlins have played very well against the East this year.
Yeah, with the exception of the Phillies.
And the Marlins are 35-31 against the East.
One of the things Scott Cousins worked on this year, he did not get off to a good start in AAA. He hit .285 overall, but the second half of the season he hit .335. He put it together. He worked on some things and couldn't get that change up there from Madsen.
Madsen gets a strikeout, and Brad Davis comes up. Leo Nunez in the Marlins pen. It's going to be interesting, Tommy, to see how the Marlins react on Friday night, because when the Cubs come to town, the Marlins will have what starting rotation they have back intact. And there was almost a feeling of being outmanned going into this series against the Phillies. The Phillies jumped them in Game 1. The Marlins played well last night and lost a tight one 2-1.
And with the Cubs in town, there's always a lot of Cubs fans. There'll be some electricity at the ballpark.
The Mike Quaddy-led Cubs. Lou Piniella stepping down a couple weeks ago.
The Derek Lelis Cubs.
There's a lot of new names in that Cubs lineup. Davis beats it at first. Cameron Maven's going to take the at-bat. Maven has been under the weather the last couple of days.
And the Cubs have actually won 6 of the last 10. So they're playing a little bit better. We'll see the infamous one, the masked Marmol. Carlos Marmol, I'm sure, will make an appearance or two.
He's one of those guys that every now and then gets your blood pressure up.
Sometimes. Not as much as Lou Piniella's.
No. Although you got to know that they're even now, as Lou is winding down and just trying to decompress from the season and his managing career, that there are times where he may be walking through the house muttering to himself, Marmol. Marmol.
See, his wife could get him irritated. Just say, Lou, instead of go take out the garbage, get Marmol up.
One of the great men in the game. And I suspect he will be in the game in some capacity next year, whether it's maybe in the broadcast booth, maybe as a special instructor or a special assistant for a ball club.
Certainly a good baseball mind to have around somewhere.
Maybe out in front, counts 2-2. And Maben goes down swinging. So Madsen, another uneventful 8th. Morrison hit it out. That might be a double. He drove that one to deep right center, but it turned into a triple. So there's the Checkers double play of the game. And there's Leo Nunez, the umpteenth pitcher of the night for the Marlins. As Nunez wings one outside. A liner left center. Bonifacio won't get it. It's going to the wall. Carlos Ruiz chugs into second. In a way, this has kind of almost been like an American Idol night for the Marlins bullpen. One long audition for Sosa, Seda, Sinquil, Vente, Sanchez, and now Nunez.
Well, Ruiz just finishes off a year against the Marlins where he's been tremendous. First of all, against the league, he came into this game about .340 in his last 40 games. This year against the Marlins, 3 of his 7 home runs and hitting around .375.
-2 to Wilson Valdez, who's enjoyed his night tonight. Pleasant weather, and he's 3 for 4. Bonifacio lines it up. Ruiz will hold at second. And then the pitcher spot due up, so Ross Glode going to take the at-bat.
I'll tell you the other number that's, I mean, there are a lot of ugly numbers in this series. But the Marlins in this 3-game series, Brad Lidge is going to get an inning, have struck out 35 times in this 3-game series. So tonight, 12. 14 times last night. You can say a lot of things about the Phillies, the offense, the way they're on fire, but they have pitched the Marlins really well in this series.
Well, in that last shot, a very telling shot with Lidge warming up, because I mean, the Phillies have already gone with Durbin and Madsen. If you pull out a little bit wider, there are no empty seats down in that bullpen. That's still a well-stocked bullpen. Glode down the left field line. That's a fair ball, and it's going to score Ruiz. Glode wasn't sure, and he kind of watched it a little bit at home plate, and then at the last minute decided good idea to run.
Well, another solid year off the bench for Ross Glode. We certainly know that firsthand by what he did last year for Glode. That's his 14th pinch hit. His 3 pinch hit home runs. Yeah, he came out of the box. He was still holding the bat. He thought that ball was going to slice foul, and it stayed fair. So by far, the Marlins pitcher of the night, Brian Sanchez. 2 innings, no hits, no runs. And when you start looking ahead to 2011, that's where you desperately need improvement.
Well, you certainly in this division, if you're going to be competitive with the Phillies, you certainly need multiple left-handers out of the pen. Not just one, but you need 2 guys at the very least who can get lefties out. And the Marlins have not had that all year long. And now that Jason Hayward has taken up residence in the National League East, you add him to Brian McCann.
You have to have at least 2. But they can't just be 2 bodies. They have to be 2 left-handers who can get lefties out.
Cousins out there makes the catch. Polanco flies out to right. 10-4 Phillies. 1-877-Marooney. Like Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 800-947-AUTO. By Tobacco Free Florida, escape the addiction of tobacco. Be free. Visit FloridaQuitline.com. And by the Social Network, in theaters October 1st. All Phillies, 10-4. Even though the Marlins have 11 hits, this is a Roy Halladay game to win. This is not Brad Lidge's game to save. But he's out here anyways. It shows you how the Phillies feel about this ball game and the chance to pick up a full game in the standings against the Braves.
Now the Marlins, Rich, have been outscored 23-9 in this series.
Bonifacio's second hit of the night. It brings up Logan Morrison if you're looking for a Coors Light Cold Hard Blast. This is a good place to start. Gabby Sanchez. Send that one up into the seats. Off of Roy Halladay for Gabby, his 18th of the season. Morrison takes a fastball up from Lidge. Lomo 2 hits, a triple, a single.
Yeah, that was a time. You see Lidge with that fastball 91. There was a time Lidge was mid-90s for a low, and then that devastating, hard, biting slider. He still has the fastball. He still has the slider. Things just aren't as hard as they once were. But that's the way Trevor Hoffman over the years evolved. Didn't have that hard fastball. Changeup was still there.
Yet no one calls Trevor Hoffman Mr. Softy.
No.
To Morrison. The Rays beat the Yankees 4-3 and reclaim first place in the East by half a game. Lidge walks him. Oh, the Marlins need 6. Here comes Hanley.
So again, you have a game. Logan Morrison, 2 base hits, a walk. He's been on base 3 times.
Oh, not a final. I thought it was a final. I saw a score pop up. It's 4-3 and there's 2 outs in the ninth. My bad.
Yeah, Teixeira walked with 2 out.
So the Yankees are still a half game up with 2 outs in the ninth. Hanley here with a 1-0 count against Lidge. Big swing, and it's 1-1. Hanley on that swing, that elbow, it really is hurting him. That's 1-2.
Hanley's going to need that day off tomorrow.
It's a final now, 4-3. Rays beat the Yankees. Rafael Soriano striking out Alex Rodriguez to end the game.
So drama in St. Pete at the Trop.
Pitch is in. That's 2-2. Say goodbye Bonifacio, a walk to Morrison. In the dirt.
This is not what Charlie Manuel wanted to see.
Right, because now he brought Lidge in to shut the door. It's a 6-run game. Say the Marlins get a couple of runs and Lidge gets up over 30 pitches, then all of a sudden Charlie has to go to plan B.
Yeah. So he wanted to make sure Lidge stayed sharp, get him an inning with a day off. They have a day off as well tomorrow.
Hanley lost his bat and hit Ruiz. And here comes Ugla now.
That's the one area, we've talked about it. The Braves at this point seem to have a little better bullpen. And Lidge just isn't the Lidge he was in 08 when he had that perfect season.
Braves have a little more balanced bullpen in terms of lefties and righties.
Yeah.
But the year that the rookie has had, Johnny Venters.
Moylan's always tough. Billy Wagner's had a solid year.
Now Ugla.
Couple of sliders. Yeah, there was a time that slider was mid to upper 80s, if not harder.
Of course, Lidge apprenticed under Wagner as an 8th inning guy with Houston. Madsen is kind of in that role with Lidge, but hasn't, in his opportunities to close, he was not a lockdown closer himself.
Yeah, and he's had a few chances.
He's gone 3-1 to Dan Ugla. Gabby's on deck. And he missed with the slider.
That's pretty amazing. 3-1 slider. He just doesn't feel like he has any command with his fastball, and he's not getting the slider over either.
Let's see if the Phillies get somebody up in their bullpen.
He's thrown 18 pitches already. He's only gotten 1 out.
Rich Doobie is out, and they will. Contreras and Romero. Every time you see Mike Zagurski down there in the bullpen, the young lefty, he looks like a bat boy down in the pen.
And one of the clubhouse kids, a ball boy or something down there.
He was not the guy from Superbad. We saw him in Philadelphia, you're right. All right, here's Gabby. He's homered tonight. And Lidge misses out with the fastball. And what the Phillies obviously don't want to have happen is the tying run to come to the plate in this inning. Time call. I think Gabby may have clipped Ruiz. Slider misses low, and he can't throw either pitch for strikes.
Wow. Yeah, Gabby with his 18th home run back in the 6th inning has 77 RBIs.
So it's 2-0. He threw Ugla 3-1 slider. He throws Gabby a 2-0 slider. 2-1.
And I think if the Phillies have an Achilles heel in postseason, it might be Brad Lidge.
Fastball's low.
Pretty good pitch.
Lidge doesn't like the call.
I would venture to say it's probably in the zone. Yeah, number 4. So now he's to that 3-1 count. All the sliders. Think he goes to that slider again?
Fastball in. He's lost him. The Marlins have a run. It's 10-5. Chad Tracy's coming up. Let's see if Charlie comes out and gets Brad Lidge. And here he comes. So what was not a save situation when Lidge came in is turned into that for Contreras. Because the tying run will be on deck as Contreras enters the ball game. Lidge exits. 10-5 Phillies. Marooney called to the pen.
When you need a car, truck or van, who you gonna call? Marooney!
His last 2 appearances, he has given up runs. Against the Mets on the road, against the Marlins up in Philadelphia. Pretty solid season.
Yeah, of course, his out pitch is that nasty splitter. He gets ahead. He likes to put hitters away, especially lefties, with that pitch.
Bases loaded. Chad Tracy's up. And a first pitch fastball. He had a rip at it and fouls it off. It's 0-1. That misses out. And it's a ball and a strike. Morrison. He walked following the Bonifacio single after Hanley struck out. Ugla walked. Gabby walked with the bases loaded to force in a run and force Lidge out of the ball game. Contreras in. 1-1 coming. Tracy fouls it back and out of play.
See, now he's had a couple of good fastballs to hit. You see if Contreras stays with the fastball or tries to go with that forkball.
There it is.
Might have been the slider.
Down goes Tracy, and that's the second out of the inning. Scott Cousins is coming up. Now, the Marlins still have Mike Stanton in reserve. Brad Davis is on deck. Cousins goes after the breaking ball. There is Stanton. Cousins tonight has singled and struck out 3 times. Ground ball, Utley, and this should do it. Utley makes the play, and the Phillies sweep the Marlins. 10-5, the final. 3 hours and 22 minutes. And Philadelphia rides out of town with a 3-game lead in the National League East. And they win 13 of 18 against the Marlins this year. Chase Utley provided the early offense for the Phillies. Roy Halliday in the bullpen did the rest. Halliday, a 9 strikeout night, didn't walk anybody. Our South Florida Ford dealers. Spotlight of the game shines on Halliday. First to 19 wins in the National League. 19-10 now is Halliday. And this year against the Marlins, 4-1 in 5 starts. And of course a perfect game in that 4-1 record. 10-5 the final. Marlins will try to regroup against the Cubs on Friday night. We'll talk about that on Marlins Live, which is right around the bend.